Hello and welcome to another episode in this series called Carbs. And before I get into showing you and telling you about this OS 7L carb, I want to share something else with you first. A couple of things really. And the first thing is that I have this book. I'm sure many of you have this book, or maybe you've seen it. Now this book is an exploded parts breakdown of engines and carburetors. This is the first edition though, January 1998. So unfortunately this only covers engines, some engines, and probably not even all of them by any means. Some up to 1998, so anything past 1998 is not in here. However, some of the carbs that I've got to show you are in here, and I've got this marked to one of these pages here, which is the listing for the 7L carb. Now I've got a picture of this that I took with my cell phone and did a little bit of cropping that I can put up in. I'll leave it at maybe at the end of the video so you can take a longer look at it. The other thing is I could potentially put this on my scanner and scan it for anybody that really wants some of these images, because when I took the picture of this, I took a picture of this and not the parts listing, because that's really kind of the critical part. Is if you need to go and buy replacement parts, it has the OS part number, and that's what you would use to search, and then it use the description also as part of the search criteria. So anyway, we're going to be talking today in this video about the 7L carb. And honestly, to be completely open and honest with you, I've never disassembled one of these before until just a little while ago. And this is the second time I've shot this video, because the first time I had no clue what I was doing, and now I've got a little bit better clue of what I'm doing. And I have completely disassembled that carb and cleaned it to the best of my ability and reassembled it so that now I don't look quite so ignorant while I'm trying to disassemble it. So the next thing that I want to talk about here is having the right tools to do the job. And that's kind of critical here. Now I've got a small flathead screwdriver here that you will need to disassemble this carb. In fact, the blade is probably not as wide or as thick as it could be, as it needed to be when I was initially disassembling it. So I used a different, I believe, this bit that came in my Harbor Freight thing, but I've left everything so much such that it's pretty much finger tight now. The other thing is, in a video a while back, I shot a video talking about some tools that I had purchased, and I purchased some small SAE and metric wrenches. And this is an example of one of the metric wrenches. And these are very good tools to use for small things like carburetors and stuff. However, these particular tools have some really serious disadvantages that I need to address. I haven't addressed yet. And one of them is that they've got like this box end part is like a 12 point or more. It's stupid. I mean, instead of a hex, it's like whatever. But the thing is that this is a really meaty area, and to get in some areas on some applications, this outer ring needs to be much, much thinner. So I need to take my Dremel out when I come across a wrench that I'm trying to use in this capacity as the box end, and take it and Dremel it down and grind it really thin. The other thing about grinding some things is the thickness of this. Some of these wrenches is just way too thick to do what you need to do, so I would need to grind down some of those particular wrenches also and make them much thinner, and they'll be a lot more workable for me. So I've got the tools on here. I've got the carb that we're going to be looking at, and I'm going to zoom way in on it. So this is a good operational carb. Well, I haven't tested it other than use my setup test on it, and it seems to be a usable or functional carb. Obviously it's a little chilly outside today. I think the wind chill is like -17, and the temperature is outside air temperature is like 5, so it's not real conducive to running engines. But we are going to go ahead and start disassembling this, and I'm just going to zoom way the heck in here and try to keep this in here. So I'll open this book up so I can reference their nomenclature for certain things. And I'm going to start by saying that This is the thing that I'm always talking about. This is the throttle stop or the idle set screw. And this particular thing in this carb is an assembly. And let me see, they call this thing, it's number 5 or 6 here. Yeah, throttle stop screw assembly. And the reason it's an assembly is because I'm just going to unscrew this part. It comes with a locking nut, and then the screw itself, and then the base that's threaded in here. I'm just going to take the locking nut and the screw out, because normally this thing, you lock it down really tight. Well, you can, and then you can't move this or it won't automatically adjust on you. But when I'm using these things on the stand, I'll lock this thing down just enough so that it's snug, it won't come loose, and I can still make adjustments here if necessary. So I'm just going to take this out first because this is necessary to come out, and you'll see that this is a rather long screw. See, that nut's completely free now. That is a long screw, and you'll see why here shortly. So there's our nice long throttle stop screw, and of course that's, like I said, this is part of what's called an assembly, because I could unscrew this portion and unscrew it and unthread it from the body, but there's really no need for doing that. So this is what I would call the barrel retention screw. What OS is calling this is rotor guide screw. Why? I don't know why they would say rotor, unless, I don't know. So anyway, I'm just going to pull this whole part out here. And this is what the barrel of this carb looks like. So I like the fact that this thing is completely milled out all around there. I do not know why. There is, oh, okay, wow, I didn't see that. Okay, so, wow, what is that part? Let me see. Number 4 is called the mixture control valve. Okay, no, we're talking. So there is a screw here. Now I did not take that out, and apparently there is. You see the spray bar? I bet if you were to unscrew that, that spray bar would come out. I am not going to do that. I don't see a need to do that, but that's number 4 on here, and it says mixture control valve assembly. But the mixture control valve assembly is actually referring to other parts of this too, so it's all kind of like one unit. I would call that the spray bar, but they don't use that word anywhere, so I'm not going to take that out. I didn't take it out. I'm not going to take that out. I've already taken this thing apart once, and I feel a little more comfortable doing that. I don't know how comfortable I would feel taking that out and being able to get it back in. So we're going to leave it. And we're just going to leave that in there. So the next thing I'm going to take out is, just for the heck of it, I guess I can unscrew this needle valve assembly. I don't really know that there's a real need in doing that, but so it's one of those things. If there's a hex on something, or something has a slotted screw or a hex screw, it's designed to come out, or at least be disassembled and possibly serviced or replaced. So there's our, what are they calling this? They are calling this number 12, which is needle valve assembly. So that's our needle valve assembly. So the next thing here is, you'll see that here's our fuel inlet, and then there's just a screw here that's a plug. And basically that screw is called, it's number 8, it's called plug screw. Why that's there, I'm not entirely certain. I haven't seen or had enough of these carbs to ever see that in use. Perhaps it has some purpose. Obviously it's there for a purpose, maybe for another type of application, helicopter or something. I don't know. All I know is it's called a plug screw. There's no point in taking it out. I'm not going to take it out. So the next portion of this is this little assembly here. And this screw here is a low-speed mixture screw. Now let me see exactly what they're calling it. It's number 10. They're calling it the mixture control screw. And it's basically, the head of the screw is a cam So like the threaded part is offset from the central portion of this, and we'll see it when I take that out. And then what are they calling this? To me, that's just the screw that holds it in place, which is, it's just part of the assembly. Let's see what they're calling this. 11, they're calling this the mixture control valve stopper. I don't follow that nomenclature, but we're going to just take this thing off because I've had this off recently, just a few minutes ago. I don't think that's the right size wrench. It's a number 5 or 5mm. So I just loosen it up and I'm taking off. Now it's got a washer on there, but I didn't really understand the washer part, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to explain the washer part because the washer doesn't fit all the way. Doesn't fit all the way up to the top of the shoulder of the base of the head for some reason. And in this application, it would seem that that would be necessary, so I don't really quite understand all that. So now we're just going to take this guy out, this central screw, and all of these have washers on them. They're lock washers, and I was very careful to make sure that I didn't get them mixed up when I took it apart. So I know that I've got the right screw and washers together. Okay, so now this little bracket, cam bracket, just comes off, and let me see, they're not calling this anything. This is all just part of the mixture control valve, or mixture what's it called here, number 4, mixture control valve assembly. So this apparently doesn't have its own name per se. Yeah, it doesn't really. So that, and let's look at this a little more closely. So this is how they showed it on the carb, with this little cutout this way. When I took the carb apart, this was on the carb like this. I'm not sure I understand why that cutout is there, because it doesn't align with this hole in any orientation whatsoever. But the best I can tell by looking at their exploded parts breakdown, it's supposed to go on there like this. And it does matter, because the way that thing is cut determines the initial orientation of this thing, because this has got 2 flats on the side and that thing has 2 flats on there also. So it fits in there and drops in place like that. So that's that. Now this little cam screw thing just unscrews, and that took me a little bit to really kind of understand that. It just unscrews. So I'm just going to pull this thing out, and it's just a screw in there with a spring. It doesn't do anything internally. All it does is, and you'll see, maybe you can see as I'm unscrewing this thing, that the head is offset from the central portion of the screw. So that's what forms the cam, and that cam moves that little bracket back and forth, and then here's the little spring on there. So now to get this spray bar that I'm calling a spray bar out of here, I gotta thread this thing back in there and pull it out. It's pretty tight, which is good, because it means the O-rings are in good shape. Okay, there we go. Wow, that was tight. And it's tight for a good reason, because it has 3 O-rings on here that need to seal. Oh, I hope you can see that. It's dark. It's dark colored because of time. But it's got an O-ring here, an O-ring here, and then an O-ring here. And they're all, I think maybe these 2 are the same part number, but then this one here is different. So this has got, God, I hope you can see this. It's got this little bitty opening here at this end. Kind of a weird shaped cat's eye type of thing. And that is what gets rotated internally here. So if you were to put this back together like this, they fit. This thing fits within the other portion of this assembly here. Now, I don't know if I've got the orientation right. Let me do it this way. I think maybe you can see, maybe there's like a rectangular cutout. Maybe I can get a light shining on there, I don't know. Yeah, there you go. See that rectangular cutout? So that needs to be oriented in a certain way. And I'm certain that if you were to take that screw out here, where is it? That screw, that it probably goes in a flat so that you can't screw that up, I'm assuming. Now this cat's eye portion, I'm looking at my little LCD screen hoping you can see this. It does have an orientation because it's only like on one side, the bottom, so you got to make sure that when you put this thing back together, I hope I didn't damage that O-ring. Looks like there's a little bit of damage to that O-ring. Shit, that's not good. This has to go down because the orientation of this, grabbing the wrong thing, the orientation of this is down, so it needs to go in there like this. I thought that thing just went in there a lot further than that, maybe not. So anyway, there's an orientation that goes to this, and I know you really can't see this right now. But that cat's eye in here orients in that rectangular cutout in this portion, and as the cam is turned, you can see it. That's how it's metering the low speed, or the low speed fuel flow through there. Now it looks like maybe I had hosed up this little O-ring just a hair by pulling it out that last time, which is always one of those dangers. I'm going to put it all back together and hope for the best, because I don't have any of these parts on order, or I don't even know if they're available. So anyway, I'm not going to bother. I'm not going to spend the time going back and putting this back together, but I think you kind of get the idea of the complexity of this particular carb. This is probably one of the more complex carbs that I've ever messed with, and that's one of the reasons why I don't like taking certain carbs apart. You know, a lot of them are very, very, very simple, like 5 pieces. This one's got considerably more than that. But anyway, that's the conclusion of this video, and I hope you learned something on this video. And like I said, this image of the Type L carb that I had held up for so long at the beginning of the video, I'll just put it here at the end and just leave it there for like maybe 10 seconds. And if you want, when you're watching the video, you can just pause it and look at it. Or if you like, you can contact me via email and I can see if I can make a decent scan of this or any of the others that might be in there and provide that to you individually. So that's our video for today. So to me, it looks like that washer for this nut has to go on here first, and it acts as a spacer for this bracket so that the bracket rides up a bit, and this probably sets the spacing for that depth of that portion of the, what I'm calling the spray bar, to fit in there. This is the only way this looks correct. So that is a slight addendum to this video.